So we're back on part D, and we're just going to start where we left off. So it's pick a number, add 7, multiply by 3, divide by 3, and the ending number is 14. And so what we're going to do is the same thing that we did before, and I'm going to make that line. And that's just to differentiate the left-hand side from the right-hand side, and so we make sure it's balanced. So the first thing we're going to do is say, okay, what's the last thing that happened to n? So it's pick a number, add 7, multiply by 3, divide by 3. So I am going to multiply both sides by 3. So that will cancel out that operation, and then I just copy. And 14 times 3 is 42. And so now we're at this right here, at this point. And we don't really have to worry about anything from above. We're just going to start from there. So we have pick a number, add 7, multiply by 3. So the opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. So that cancels that operation out. So now we're going to bring down that n plus 7. 42 divided by 3 is 14. And, whoops, where are we here? So then I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides because the last thing that happened was add 7, and I end up with n equals 7. And that's our solution. So if I were to plug in 7 here, I would end up with 14 multiply it by the 3, which would give me 42, divided by 3, which would give me 14 again. So that would be our solution there. So let's move on to the next one. And remember, you can pause these and go back. So I'm not going to go really slow. So you can just kind of go at your own pace and try to do them on your own. Whoops. Let's see. I'm just going to move this up here. So we have pick a number. And I'm going to subtract 3. After I do that, I multiply it by 2. So I need to use those parentheses. Subtract 6. Divide by 4. And my ending number is 5. So I'm going to use my line here. And what's the last thing that happened? Which was, remember, it's pick a number, subtract 3, multiply by 2, subtract 6, divide by 4. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. That cancels that operation out. And I'm just going to write down and bring down everything else that we haven't touched. And then 5 times 4 is 20. Now we have this equation here, which is the same as the top equation. It's just the only difference is we multiplied both sides by 4. It just looks a little bit different, but it's the same thing. So it's pick a number, subtract 3, multiply by 2, subtract 6. So I'm going to add 6. And then I'm just going to bring down that 2 times the quantity of n minus 3 equals 26. So now I have pick a number, subtract 3, multiply by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. That cancels out. I'm going to bring down the n minus 3. And I don't need to put the parentheses anymore because there's nothing outside. So I have 26 divided by 2, which is 13. Pick a number, subtract 3. So I'm going to add 3. And I end up with, and I'm just going to put it over here, I end up with n equals 16. Okay, and that's our solution. So if we were to plug this 16 in up here, our left-hand side would equal our right-hand side. And that's our solution. That's the solution. That's the number that we can plug into the equation or the number that we can plug in that makes the equation true. Okay? All right, so part F, I have pick a number, subtract 9, divide by 8, add 7, and the ending number is 3. So I'm just going to make sure I draw this to keep my work nice and neat. And last thing remember, it's pick a number, subtract 9, divide by 8, add 7. So I subtract 7. I'm just going to copy down what we have left. N minus 9 over 8. And 3 and a negative 7. Who wins? The negative team wins by how much? 4. And So I just go back again and say pick a number. And that's one thing that you should probably get in the habit of doing. It's good practice to get into, is just say the number trick in your head. Pick a number. Subtract 9, divide by 8. So I'm going to multiply by 8. And I'm going to bring down the n minus 9, which is negative 32. Pick a number, subtract 9. So I add 9. And I end up with n equals, and I have a positive and a negative. The negative team wins, and they win by how much? 32 minus 9, which is 23. So we have negative 23 is our solution. So if I were to take this negative 23 here and plug it in here, I'm going to end up with 3 after I subtract 9, divide by 8, and add 7. Okay? Next one is pick a number, add 3, multiply by 5, divide by 3, and the ending number is 5. So we always want to say what's the last thing that happened to n or x or whatever the variable is. And it's divide by 3, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. And I end up with 5 times the quantity of n plus 3. I'm just going to bring that down. And 5 times 3 is 15. Now we have pick a number, add 3, multiply by 5. So I'm going to divide by 5. That cancels that operation out. And I end up with n plus 3 equals 3. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Pick a number, add 3. So I'm going to subtract 3. And n equals 0. So again, 0 is our solution. If I were to take this 0 right here and plug it in here, I'm going to end up with 5 because that was our original equation. Okay, moving on to the next one. So we have pick a number, multiply by 6, add 4, and then the last thing is to multiply by negative 2. So we want to make sure that we put those parentheses, and ending number is 6. So the last thing that we did to the variable, which was multiply by negative 2, because it's pick a number, multiply by 6, add 4, multiply by negative 2, we're going to, we're going to divide by negative 2. So if I multiply by negative 2, I'm going to divide by negative 2. If I multiplied by 2, I would divide by 2. So whatever we're multiplying by, we have to make sure the sign stays. So that cancels that out. And I'm just going to 6n plus 4 equals negative 3. Last thing that happened to n, so it's pick a number, multiply by 6, add 4. So I subtract 4. So I'm left with 6n on this side. And negative 3 and negative 4, they're on the same team, so we're just going to add them and keep the sign. And last thing, pick a number, multiply by 6. So I'm going to divide by 6. And I end up with n equals negative 7 over 6. And that's my solution. So again, if I were to plug negative 7 over 6 in for this n here, so instead of n, putting that in, I multiplied it by 6, added 4, multiplied by 2, then I would end up with 6. Okay? All right. So this last one here, I think it's the last one for this worksheet. So we have pick a number, multiply by 3. After that, we're going to multiply by 2, add 5 equals 15. I could be wrong. There could be one more. Last thing that happened is to add 5. So we are going to subtract 5. Let me just get this here. From both sides, remember whatever we do to one side, we have to do it to the other side. That cancels out, and I end up with 2 times 3n equals 10. Pick a number, multiply by 3, multiply by 2. So the last thing was multiply by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. And I end up with 3n equals 5. Pick a number, multiply by 3. So I'm going to divide by 3. And n equals 5 over 3. Okay, so again, that's our solution. I'm not sure if this is the last one. Oh, we do have one more, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to fit it on this video, so it will be on the next video. That's where we'll start. And remember that You can pause anything, go back and look it over, and these are due tomorrow, so make sure you have these.